Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, July 8th. I'm John Weigell here with Martina, Bretous, and you're listening to the Hustle Daily Show. AI continues to redefine itself, and the past month has been no exception. Apple finally announced Apple Intelligence, Nvidia outpaced Microsoft, Claude 3.5 launched, and so much more. So today, Martina Bretous, the editor of HubSpot's Next in AI, returns to discuss these updates in AI and what they could mean going forward for us all. We'll get to that in a bit, but first let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. Paris Olympics organizers have been trying to clean up the famous River Seine to be able to welcome triathlon and marathon swimming events through the center of Paris, but pesky levels of E. coli still run in the current. On Friday, officials confirmed a backup plan to postpone events a few days or cut out swimming from events altogether. Yikes. Next, if you're planning a getaway in the Hamptons this summer, you may need to pack an extra briefcase of, cash. Wall Street Journal is reporting a staggering increase in food prices out there, like a deli charging $120 per pound of lobster salad. So stay away if you're in the bottom 99% like I am. Okay, good news for any government officials in China. They're now officially able to buy a Tesla Model Y. It's the only foreign-owned electric vehicle company on the government procurement list, so it looks like Tesla is slowly winning over China. Over to amusement parks. Six Flags and Cedar Fair completed their $8 billion merger this past weekend, accounting for 42 amusement and water parks across the U.S. And finally, over the weekend, Phoenix police pulled over a car that was driving in the wrong lane. The driver? Nobody, aka Waymo. You got to look up this video if you can, everybody. It's, of course, concerning, but there's nothing funnier than a driverless car rolling down its window just to connect a police officer to its tech support. Incredible. Okay, so our main segment today is another chat about the past month in AI. What updates do you need to know? What companies are at the forefront? And what can we look forward to for the rest of the year? To give us some of that insight, I'm joined by Martina Bretous to discuss all those questions. So, Martina, welcome back yet again. Another month, another time.
Thank you. Hi, John. Back like I never left.
I know. Every time this comes around, I'm always surprised how quickly it rolls.
I know.
And how much we have to talk about, too.
Mm-hmm. Never fails.
Yeah. So starting this month, once again, I'll ask you my favorite question to start. Is there anything this past month that really surprised you when it comes to the AI industry?
Yeah. So I was actually just on TikTok the other day and I came across two recruitment companies that have this AI interviewer tool. So imagine you're going for an interview, right? You're a candidate, you're trying to find a new job, and you're thinking you're going on an interview with somebody to talk about the qualifications or maybe to do a technical assessment. You log on and it's actually an AI avatar there to meet you. And they're going to be the ones talking to you, asking you questions. Then that tool is then going to go back to the hiring manager, give you a score, talk about how well you performed, and essentially tell the hiring manager if you should move forward to the next round.
Wow.
So how do you feel about that, John?
Awful. Just awful?
Yeah.
Personally, I thrive off of being a personality hire and nothing else. So, having a conversation with an AI person instead of a real person, that's a real detriment for me. But I can, I guess, understand the idea behind it. And, maybe people are really busy at certain companies that don't have time. What do you think about this? Is this a good idea or is it kind of weird?
I mean, I actually did a poll on LinkedIn to ask people what they thought. And a lot of people said that they would continue through with the interview, but they would hate it. Some people decided that they would actually bow out of the entire process.
Wow.
Some people feel like it sets a really bad precedent for the company, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because a lot of the times you want to be able to talk to the company, talk to people directly and say, hey, tell me about the job. Tell me about the culture. Tell me about the dynamic. You want to be able to feel that out early on. So I understand why a company might want to streamline their process with something like this. But I do think it can have a huge impact on the type of candidates that move forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. I feel like it is more impersonal. And of course, if you
Definitely.
are interviewing for a job, you would want to talk to the eventual team that you're going to be on instead of an AI avatar. It does seem a bit strange, but that is very surprising. I actually didn't hear anything about that. We're going to talk a lot more about AI avatars today, though, so don't you worry.
Yeah. So one of the companies is called Micro One, and they're actually gamifying the job interview process. So when you log on, it tells you to pick an avatar. So I feel like the job seeking process can already be so demoralizing. So I don't know if they're trying to counteract that by making it a little bit more fun, but just another day in AI world.
That's so strange. It reminds me a lot of Google's recruitment process that I've had a few friends go through where, you just enter a room and they give you like 5 equations and you have to build a Lego set or something.
Yep.
This kind of echoes of that.
Yeah.
So to get us started here with a lot of the big companies, right? Apple this past month finally came out with a big announcement about Apple Intelligence, and it announced it at WWDC 2024. And it looks like this new Apple AI, which is finally coming, will only exist on new iPhones, new iPads, new Macs that are coming out in the fall, kind of like, I guess, the iPhone 15 Pro Max Extra Nitro Beta 2. Turbo. What are your thoughts on Apple's AI play and when it's going to actually be debuting?
So I have multiple thoughts. The first one is it's about time. I mean, we've been waiting for Apple to jump in. We've talked about this before. And I was really impressed with some of the tools that they had, the writing tools, the ability to create your own custom emojis, the huge updates to Siri, and the fact that now she can understand natural language, the personal context. So if I say, oh, when is that reservation again for later? It can look at my emails and my text messages and figure out contextually what I'm talking about and give me the answer that I'm looking for. So I'm impressed with the actual features, but the fact that it's only available for new models, womp womp, it sucks for people who are not trying to get a new iPhone right now. So that's pretty disappointing. And Apple's also having issues releasing it in China and the European Union because of their own strict AI regulations. So I don't know if it's going to make as big of a splash as they originally anticipated because of these limitations, but we'll just have to see.
Yeah. And kind of to reprise our conversation from earlier about AI avatars, a company that I didn't expect to get into this, TikTok, of course, their parent ByteDance, also entered the AI game. They introduced ads with AI-generated creators. So similar to your comment about interviews, I'm wondering if this is kind of the beginning of the end for influencers on various platforms, especially with branded posts.
It's so interesting because TikTok for me is a platform of authenticity, right? Everybody goes on there for the real. People aren't putting on makeup. They're not putting on a show. You're just supposed to go there to be your most authentic self. So the idea now that they are having these AI generated avatars kind of feels like the complete opposite of what TikTok was supposed to be. I don't think it's necessarily the death of influencers, but I do think it has a huge potential to erode the trust between consumers and brands. If I have to wonder if a review is done by AI, it's just going to make me less likely to purchase. And I understand the benefit for brands because their idea is, well, it's low cost, it's high output. But if consumers think that your reviews are fake, they're not going to trust your brand.
Right.
So I just don't know if it's actually worth it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, another facet of this is that TikTok is allowing AI creation on its platform as well. So it's not only kind of gearing up to give you ads, it's also letting you create AI generated avatars of your own and videos of your own, for which there has been a little controversy this past few weeks.
To say the least.
About people getting their AI avatars to say anything, in this particular case, Mein Kampf from Adolf Hitler. We've seen this with Google earlier in the year. So how do companies keep letting this happen?
I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It's like clockwork. They tell you, hey, we're going to wait to release it. We have this really cool feature. We've done red teaming. We've made sure that it's ready for the public. They release it to the public. Then the public says, wait, I was able to do this. I don't think I should have been able to do this. And they're like, oh, wait, actually, that only happened to a small segment of users. Most people didn't have that issue happen to them. And that's what happened with TikTok this time.
Yeah.
I don't know why it keeps happening. I think because, like we've talked about before, there are so few guardrails around how companies are choosing to implement AI when they're choosing to release it to the public. And so companies can kind of do whatever they want right now. And so we're going to keep seeing that happen until there's a little bit more structure around release and things like that.
Yeah. How do you just not give it the worst things you could possibly think imaginable first for your trials instead of waiting to see what the internet does? Because what they think of is always going to be worse somehow.
Always.
But pivoting a little bit. So we've been keeping our eyes on Nvidia for a while. As of June 17th, Nvidia's market capitalization reached $3.343 trillion, and that surpassed Microsoft's $3.332. Seems like very minute difference, but a big one nonetheless, because it's become an increasingly valuable company, and it's been very, very, very quick. How has this happened so incredibly fast?
I mean, they're at the center of this AI boom. And the big thing is, it's not just companies like OpenAI, Google, Meta, like these huge conglomerates that are a part of this race. It's every company, small companies, big companies that are trying to develop AI products, because we've talked about how AI is this new buzzword. If you say you have an AI powered product, it just gives it a little bit more juice. It makes people a little bit more interested. So they have just been able to deliver. Everybody's trying to get their hands on Nvidia's chips.
Yeah, it really seems that way. The final thing that I wanted to address today is, of course, early June, we saw a letter from former OpenAI employees and Google DeepMind employees. It's about 13 of them, and they write about their concerns of where AI is going. And it's really seemed over the past few months that, especially since that split at OpenAI happened with the security team, it really seems like things are moving very fast. Is the rapid development becoming a little scarier as we keep going and as month and month go by?
A little. It was very scary. They even mentioned in the letter the risk of human extinction.
Yes.
When I read that, I said that out loud. What do you mean the risk of human extinction? And these are people who are current and former employees of these huge companies. So they have the inside knowledge into what's happening. So the fact that they are raising the alarm makes me very, very worried. They brought up issues that we've talked about before, like AI companies, they have the strong financial incentives to avoid effective oversight. That's a direct quote from the letter. They talked about the risk of retaliation from them bringing up concerns. They talked about the fact that whistleblower protections only apply to illegal use, but with AI, because there's very little regulation, it doesn't actually apply. So for me, and I think most people, seeing a letter like that is very scary. And it makes me wonder about what we don't know. I mean, that's what comes with innovation, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, because AI is moving at such a fast pace and huge people are able and willing to put themselves out there and say, hey, I think we need more regulation. Hopefully, we start to see a little bit more movement happening at a quicker pace that matches the rate at which AI is moving.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'm sorry to end on such a downer here, but thank you so much, Martina, for coming back. And I'm excited to see what happens in the next about 30 days.
Hopefully we have a little bit more lighter news to share.
Maybe. All right, and that'll do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor today is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. Got a ton more tech and business coverage on our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email, and we will see you tomorrow.